My why is this deep clarity around natural law and understanding that everything is connected. So if there's certain communities that aren't doing well, that comes back and affects all communities in a way. Middle school, early high school perhaps, I witnessed my grandmother have a stroke in the kitchen. And I saw half of her face sort of start to droop. And I thought she was making funny faces at the age. And, I'm going back and forth like, Grandma, stop playing. And my mom was also in the kitchen at that time, and her entire tone changed. And I could tell it was something serious happening. Later, after the ambulance came to, transport her to the hospital, I learned about what a stroke was. And seeing that really transformed my understanding of health and the power of community and education. Before, my grandmother lived with diabetes, and I witnessed her in the kitchen every day injecting insulin into her abdomen. So I didn't necessarily have the words for what insulin was or what she was overcoming in that exact moment, but I started connecting the dots. And I really wanted to be able to impact that and transform that so she could live an even better quality of life from a basic standpoint of not having to, inject insulin every day. I mean, I'm a science nerd, and I know that energy is neither created or destroyed. And so when there's that charge, you have a choice of what you want to do with it. And so I was able to turn that, quote unquote, pain into purpose. My parents first moved to New York, actually, from Haiti, and they met there, had my brother, and then came to Philly and had me. And so it's just been really powerful to learn about their immigrant story, and then further understanding how chronic diseases have impacted my family. And that's really what is at the heart and soul of my interest in chronic disease prevention and control. Seeing my parents, both with their own health conditions, navigate the health system, and perhaps as a child seeing how can we make this different? How can we make it better? I think of the motto of Haitian culture, particularly on the Haitian flag, is "L'union fait la force," and it's unity makes strength. And so to understand the power of community, to really transform and heal, with that, to be able to leverage it when we have healthier communities, we have healthier families, our neighborhoods, our country, it just continues to have this domino effect. To be able to answer some of the research questions that I've been interested in, I am grateful for amazing mentors along the journey and that I continue to be in touch with. At times, for instance, there may be challenges even accessing the community if there aren't mentors doing that kind of work, right? Often you are sort of under the tutelage of someone, and you find your niche within that and you continue the work. But if the work's not there, if your community's not being connected in a meaningful way, then the onus is on the scholar, the student, to be able to forge those pathways. And at times that just adds an additional layer of challenge. So I think about, for instance, I had a mentor who said, wow, you have brilliant research ideas. They're like an island, just, a bit far off, and I don't know how to get you there. And so I literally had, in a metaphorical way, had to take off swimming in deep, deep ocean waters, right? Thinking on the community level is looking at researchers that are doing public health work and seeing that, again, there's not many people that look like me. And the implication there is, all right, well, who's doing the work and what kind of connection could be improved if we are really able to include people from the community into this conversation. So it's not just the scientific researcher coming in like, oh, I think this is what you need. No, it's a conversation. Working with the kids from North Philly is so fun to me. They're actually hilarious. I think kids have such wisdom, and it's also a soft spot for me because when I show up into the space, I introduce myself as Dr. Rowe, the scientist, artist, and educator. And they're like, you're a scientist, you're a doctor, and you dance? So again, it connects them to understanding, seeing people who look like you. That is just so liberating to see what the options are sometimes. The work that I do is soulful and scientific. If you think about the healing power of music, of play, of dance, of joy, right? There's sometimes an essence that seems like there's not a scientific explanation for it, but there is. When you're smiling, you're laughing, even when you're saying mantras of, positive affirmations to yourself, like I am love, I attract love, I give love, I live in love. That literally signals to your brain to release endorphins, to release chemicals that have a physiological response that make you feel better. If we're able to tap into that soulful place that also has a scientific element to it, then we can really do some amazing healing work. And so that's why I not only work as a scientist, but also the power of serving as an artist, to be able to communicate stories, both the joys and the pains, to process that. I grew up in different dance studios, different styles, from jazz, modern, hip hop, African, continuing on to Haitian folklore and traditional styles, right? And so as I've been practicing for the last decade plus, I wanted to get certified. And in that process, I recently traveled to Egypt, Kemet, in 2020 of February on a sacred sojourn with Queen Afua. I literally saw yoga postures on the walls with people that looked like me. There was no question once you saw the walls, once you saw what was being communicated, even if every visual, even if I wasn't able to translate every single visual, there was a connection there. And so that was my introduction to Egyptian yoga. So I took an online class to get an experience of the practice. I was able to get certified and continue to share those lessons of life, of both that soulful and scientific connection. The journey of life continues to be my teacher. One, first and foremost, is you have to be well in order to do well. And that's on a basic level of mind, body, and spirit. If you're not well, if your cup is empty, or, to be able to do this community work, both from a soulful and scientific space, I gotta take care of me, my center, connect to my source, and be grounded in that.